Hello everyone, welcome back to some more Let's Play Halcyon 6 Lightspeed Edition. Everyone, I am done with this game. I'm going to get into the game and I'm going to show you what happened to us. Because this is just terrible. So, in the last episode, we attempted to stop the Corzon Consensus. To retrieve the Corzon Consensus's artifact and bring it back to them. And I was able to redo that work and recover the artifact, and time is now progressing again. Did have to redo 33 minutes worth of work, but it thankfully allowed me to do so. Things ended up a little different in that the behemoths attacked a different system rather than the same one that had the behemoths upon it. Which means I have less artifacts. So what I had done is then I checked my fleet to see how many artifacts it would take to upgrade my ship, the Kabobinator. And look at the Kabobinator, everyone. It's tier 1, and this used to be tier 4. Just an episode ago. I don't have any saved games prior to part 18. And this was me going toward that artifact, and it's still level 1. Halcyon 6 is still riddled with bugs. So I am done playing Halcyon 6. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to simply apologize. Well, first, I'm going to apologize to all the people who were members of my crew. I'm so sorry. Hypernova98. I like to stay home. Adorkable. And my greed. I'm sorry, but I'm not enjoying this anymore. I don't want to play a bugged game. I don't have time for that. Instead of spending time redoing sections or now dealing with the fact that the game has glitched out and lowered a spaceship of ours to tier 1 for some reason and having to redo a bunch of work, I'd really rather not do that. And so I'm not going to. So we're going to stop the adventure here, and I will be back to talk about Halcyon 6 because I would still like to give the game a review. And so I'll put that together, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about Halcyon 6 for a little bit, and then that'll do it for this playlist. So, give me a few seconds, everyone. Alright, everyone. It's time to give Halcyon 6 a review. I feel kind of awkward whenever I have to review a game without beating it. But I am not going to suffer through leveling a ship back from tier 1 to tier 4 again. Having to fight new behemoths, boss battles, and so on. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. So let's go ahead and get into the game where the music will be a little less loud, and then we'll go ahead and talk about Halcyon 6 for a bit. I'll try to be as fair as possible, but I'll admit it's not going to look very good for Halcyon 6. If bugs, glitches, or grinds stop me from beating this game or beating any game I play, oh, that's bad. Well, let's talk about Halcyon 6. So, time for the review. So, the first thing I like talking about for games are the graphics of them. After all, you're playing a video game, in part because of the video. Otherwise, you'd be reading a book, playing one of those old school choose-your-own-adventure books or what have you. And I love those. I have tons of them here. In any case, I think the graphics here are pretty good. Ships are recognizable. I like that as they gain experience and levels, that they change to... They still have the same look of the ships that they used to be. You can tell that it's an upgraded version of, like, the tier 3's upgraded version of the tier 2's that you were using earlier. The enemy ships are also recognizable as to what they are as they gain levels. And you can recognize the different types of vessels by their coloring, at least when it comes to the Chrull. So I like that idea. The particle effects look very nice as well. I like the system map. I like how the different races, factions, all have their own little areas of space signaled out for you. Very good. And the graphics are pretty enduring. Enduring? Is that right? Endearing to me. So I like it. I do wish that the Starbase itself, this was animated like we see in some of the cutscenes, but it's totally not. But in any case, there's no bad graphics here. Granted, it's not the same level as something like the anthill in the new XCOM series, and the space combat doesn't look as pretty as something like Sword of the Stars, but still good, I think. So I give the graphics a 2 on a scale of 0 through 3. Oh, and also I like the animation when it comes to talking with the different races. I like how when they get angry, you know, there's a different animation for them and stuff like that. So yeah, good graphics all around. For the sound's good. It doesn't. Some of the weapons of attacks, though, they don't have the same oomph that other games have. But acid bombs make gooey sounds when they hit the enemies. There's that nice audible crack when your ship rams into another vessel. I'm sorry about your face, Adorkable, but it was put to good use. Your face was really used to the best of my ability. I shoved your face everywhere. But it's good. It's good. But compared to something like a Medieval that I also have just beaten, where the planet, the explosion sounded amazing, the creaking of the armor and stuff like that. So it's good. It's not utterly fantastic, though. But I think on a scale of 0 through 2, I'll give the sound a 1. For the music, I love the music for this game. I hum the battle themes during combat. I look forward to certain ones. I think this space music feels like space music, and actually, I'm going to lower the volume just a little bit. Lower the volume just a little bit, so this way I can hear myself talk a little more. Yeah, but it's good. I really like the music to Halcyon 6. Yeah, it feels great, absolutely great. And so the music on a scale of 0 through 2, I give the music for this game also a 2. For the story, it's tricky. For the story, it's a bit all over the place, but the writing, I think, is fairly well done. The game has a real sense of humor with it, and I enjoy almost every single alien encounter I have for how funny the writing is. I've actually laughed out loud when I was first playing this game at how hilarious some of the talking is, or the conversations that you have. There you go, in it. Halcyon, whoever the writer was for the Halcyon 6 writing, they did a great job. Absolutely funny. So, although I don't know if it's worth the point score I'm going to give it, because the story itself seems rather weak, but the writing is just phenomenal. So I'm going to bump it up a little more than maybe I should, but I'm going to give the story a 2 on a scale of 0 through 3. For the gameplay, the battles themselves feel bitingly close, especially when the enemy decides to exploit an effect that they're able to place on you. We've seen the Ictus get crit and have full hit points and then have 0 hit points. So that makes you really nervous. You have to come up with a good fleet composition, and you have to make sure that your ships are all using abilities on the enemies that they can take advantage of, that they can apply to the enemies depending upon what you're fighting. So in that regard, the various enemies that you do fight feel a bit different. The Chrull, you use different type of status effects on them than you do the Collective, which are different than the Vorash, for example. And the ground combat especially is nail-biting close, because if you lose an officer, that's pretty much it as well. And there you don't have the option to switch out your combat. So it's a bit more, well, I guess maybe that's not a good thing. But whatever. I still think the gameplay it's fun for what it is. It's simple, but it's good. So I think the gameplay on a score of 0 through 3, I can give it a 2. For the GUI and controls, so from here on out, the game's going to begin to suffer. The amount of GUI navigation you have to do to get to something seems surreal. And all of the tooltips that constantly pop up that I don't care about and wish I could disable is really annoying. And sometimes these menus, they stay up when you're in combat or doing something as well. So you can just click it to get rid of it. But sometimes it's so annoying. And there's a bunch of information that the game is trying to show you, but it fights with itself to figure out which parts of it are important. And then again, it's very tricky to find things in this game as well. Like our officer traits are not actually listed on their traits. I have to go to the ship that they are piloting in order to see what traits Milner has. Like that, come on. That's kind of dumb. And I think, well, yeah, I think that some things could be made significantly easier for the user in order to navigate all the systems that this game has. It could be worse. Oh, but to be honest, I really feel like they'd have to try to. Like, it'd be hard for them to make the interface for this game worse than it is currently. That everything has to happen on this screen. That you have to acknowledge or show what just occurred as well, and the game pauses all the time for all that stuff. And I don't care. I don't care about collecting the resources. Just let my ship go there. Let me click a button and say always collect the resources when I show up to a system. This way I don't have to click the buttons even more and more. So on a scale of 0 to 2 for GUI and controls, Halcyon 6 gets a 0. It's miserable. I really don't like the GUI and trying to navigate all of its nuances. What you have up here is good, but that's about it. So, yes. Now, what comes up next is you can lose points in my score system, depending upon how grindy you are. And the game is unfortunately grindy. Combat is fun, but you have to run around in the early game to collect all the resources from all the different systems. And you have to do it. And it's boring, busy work. I understand why it's important to do it, and because it's drilling home the fact that you're using your fleet to gather resources rather than fight, and so you feel the pressure, but it still feels very grindy. And you'll note that because I've played the game before, I built the automated drones for all of my systems, because I know how not frustrating is the wrong word, but how boring and monotonous a task that is to run around and just collect all the resources with the little Federation shuttle. So, yeah, there's grind in the game, and you will feel that grind. The same thing with fighting enemies. Like, although the combat's fun, you need to do, I think, more of it than you really should have to do. This is especially true because you need dark matter and materials. And another thing you'll be doing is, as you've seen, I have officers that have never seen space combat, and they never will. Their whole job is for me to click on the yes, thank you for notifying me that they just completed making more dark matter or materials. So the game is grindy. It's not as bad as some other games' grinds have been, but it is there. So I'm going to dock 1 point for the grind. Next, bugs and frustration because of those bugs. So you can lose up to 5 points for me. And only one game so far has managed to make me dock at 5 points, and that would be Doom 2016, which not only would crash randomly to desktop, which was a nightmare for recording a game with checkpoints. Screw you, developer, who decided that. But in addition, the game corrupted all my save files, accused me of cheating, which I never did, and I had to delete those save files and replay the game for 10 hours worth of work. Dumb. Very dumb. It's why Doom 2016 has a miserable score compared to what it could have had for me. But in any case, for Halcyon 6, I had to redo 33 minutes of work because of a glitch. In the standard edition, I reached when the Chimera landed here, I defeated all its little sub-fleets. I was unable to do the battle. The game would just lock at that point. Wouldn't let me do the final fight. Had to redo 10 hours worth of work. And here, as you've seen, I just described we had to do this. Well, oh! And now my Kebabinator is tier 4. So now the game's like, oh please Tim, please play me. No, I'm still done. Sorry, I'm still done. This could happen again. I'm not suffering through it. We're done. We're done. Why did it work this time? What did I do differently? Nothing. I just loaded the game just like I did last time. I did quit and restart the game, but I'm still done. No, I'm not gonna do this anymore. So I'm gonna dock this game. I don't really want to dock at 5 points. I'll dock 3 points. for bugs and frustration. Because this game has fixed itself. But now that I've seen this glitch, I know it can happen. No, I really should dock it the full 5, to be honest. Dock it 4, Tim. Dock it 4 points. It didn't make you delete your save games, which is something Doom 2016 did. It glitched, randomly crashed, wouldn't let you play it again until you deleted all your work manually. That was the most insulting group of glitches and errors I've ever had. This, at least, it looks like you can randomly recover from the bug. But because now I've seen this happen, I'm not interested in playing this game again. So, and now I've been reviewing it. Nah, I'm not doing it. So we're gonna dock 3 points from Halcyon 6 due to bugs and frustration. Yes, I typed out my review this time. Balance. Ugh. I don't think the game is well balanced at all. The enemies can exploit effects that they can individually place on your ships. So, for example, if we go... Wait. Oh, okay, this is the early part. So, if I look at one of these vessels, for example, it can inflict hull breach on my vessels, and it has another ability that allows it to exploit the hull breach it puts on my vessels. Your ships can do nothing of the kind. Your vessels cannot generally exploit the ability they place on an enemy. You have to have all 3 different types of ships in a fleet in order to have a chance to do that, depending upon what you're fighting. The system affects these. This is a nightmare. Like, I don't find this fun at all. I find this to be really frustrating because you have your fleet, you set up how you want it to work against the enemies that you're fighting, and then the game throws this at you and says, by the way, all those tactics that you developed, you spent about 10 minutes designing your fleet to fight the Chrull, doesn't matter, because the Chrull in this system, they're immune to hull breach. So dumb. I find this way too frustrating. I really loathe that when you fight behemoths, you're thrown immediately into a boss battle immediately afterwards once you've killed a certain number of them. And you are forced to keep the same weapon loadout that you had originally. It's possible that your fleet, in attempting to run, the behemoth could, like, let's say that you use a bunch of healing and defensive abilities to survive the battle against a group of behemoths. You really will need to run when the behemoth boss shows up. But the boss, it's possible that it could stun and kill one or more of your ships, even if you hit flee first round. When it comes to your upgrades for your station, the constant demand of dark matter there's a vast amount of it that you need compared to materials. Research and building your structures is materials, but otherwise it's dark matter that you want 100% of the time. The crew morale is really important if you don't have the DLC for the game, but if you do have, and well, I guess the DLC was free, so there was that. But if you do enable that to have the equivalent of the Kebabinator, the precursor vessel, then... Wait. Crap, what was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. Let's move on. When it comes to the stats effects on the enemies, there are some stats effects I never want to exploit. Not really. Like engines down, if that's on an enemy, leave it. Leave it on that enemy. Because I want them going last, or I want them slowed down so they don't do incredible amounts of damage to me. That's another thing as well. My vessels feel like they do significantly less damage than the enemies at all times, even when being fully upgraded. I also find it really frustrating how this works. Like, I gotta waste so many levels taking things I don't care about to unlock the abilities I do want. I much prefer the old way of how leveling worked for your crew than these skill trees. And some of this isn't really explained very well. Like, I didn't understand how rev up works, and once I did, I'm like, wow, I never want to use rev up on my engineers. What a terrible idea that would be. So, well, at least that, in my opinion. And some of the abilities don't seem to matter very much. Like a crew panic. What does that really do to the enemies? They seem to, I mean, I realize there's threat in the game, so enemies want to attack certain ships. But I don't know. Crew panic makes them attack randomly, I suppose, but it doesn't feel like that all the time. I also really dislike that we are forced to keep the old hangar bays. Why? Why am I forced to keep this? I'm never going to build another tier 1 ship at all. Let me scrap this to get back the energy cost. But I suppose he did it for balance reasons, but I don't, again, I don't like that. So, I think the game needs more time in the oven to develop a less busy game, since so much of what they've done here seems frustrating and pointless busy work. So, on a scale of 0 to 2, for balance, I give the game a 0. I don't think it's very well balanced whatsoever, and it's very frustrating to come up with different skill sets to fight the enemy when suddenly you're thrown into a situation where the system stops you from actually being able to utilize that effect. Oh, and that you have to fight all the waves of the enemies when there's behemoths there as well. I really hate that. For my thumb on the scale, I'm never gonna play the game again. Never. And while I like certain aspects of this game, I know that the glitches and bugs are gonna... I'm not interested in this. So... no, I'm not gonna give it any points here either. My thumb on the scale represents a bias I have towards how much I enjoy this game. But the balance issues, the amount of GUI work I have to get through in order to do something, the bugs, the grinding, it all teams up. Well, I would love to read more writing and see the twist, because I know this game has a twist. I know it definitely has to have a big twist as to why the Chrull are actually attacking us. But I'm not willing to suffer through the game anymore to see it. So no, it gets no points from me here either. I'm not really biased towards the game. And the awesome ending, I don't know. I'm not finishing it. So there's that as well. So it doesn't get an awesome ending from me because I didn't see it. And I'm not going to see it because of all the other problems that have occurred. I can't believe it fixed itself. So, Halcyon 6, on a rating of 1 to 21. It was technically 0 through 21, and no game will probably ever get a 21. Not even my favorite game, Legacy of the Ancients, gets a 21. In fact, Legacy of the Ancients I don't think has scored that high. Or did it? I'll have to review the game. In any case, the game looks good, and gameplay will be familiar if you're used to JRPG games of yore. But the balance of this game is all over the place. The GUI navigation is frustrating, and if you don't know how to shorten the grind via automated drones, it really feels like a grind fest. And I've had bugs that cripple my game. I'm just not having fun playing it. It actively tries to stop me from having fun by making tasks easily complicated. Like, trying to design a weapon configuration to fight an enemy that I'm used to fighting, but now I'm fighting it in a system that has a trait that stops me from actually using the most effective skill on them. Nah. And I can't even recommend the game. It's a mess. It really is a mess. So no. Sorry, Halcyon 6. A 5 on a score of 0 to 21. Not playing you again. So sorry. Oh, such a shame. Especially because I backed this game on Kickstarter all those years ago. Oh well. Alright everyone, so that does it. Thank you for watching. Sorry, this is going to be one of those few games on my channel where I never bothered to complete it, but I'm just not willing to suffer through it anymore. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care everyone.